quarter of the season, and let's talk about what we think of the Leafs and the division and the whole league so far. So how about we just start with the division? Man, the Leafs 14 games, they're 11-2-1. I wouldn't have called this.
No, I mean, I had a feeling that we're going to be battling for first, but I mean, like through this, so like where are we sitting here, man? Like we got 23 points to 18 on Montreal, right? Like 16 behind that. Um, I thought that we'd be in first place, but I didn't think that we'd already have a little bit of a gap, because if you do that four times over, you've got a 20-point spread, like that's a hell of a pace, man.
Yeah,
No, I never would have thought this, but holy smokes, it's pretty awesome to see it.
absolutely. Like that is probably my biggest surprise of the North Division is the separation that's already happening. I honestly thought this whole division from spot, I don't know, like 1 to 5, it'd be within like 10 points like all season. And like you said, there's the Leafs are at 23 and Calgary, who is in fifth at the moment, is at 13. So that's a 10-point spread, only 14 games in.
Like I'm with you on that. Like such a weird spread there. Like I knew that Ottawa would be sitting down at the bottom. I didn't think that they'd be 2-11. I mean, I knew that they wouldn't do well, but like I started to feel like, maybe they did a lot of moves. They and had a lot of promising changes, but there was just too many changes. No exhibition games, and maybe not all the greatest of pieces from right on the top to the bottom. Whatever. They're 2-11. I'm not going to rag on them too much, and let's move on from Ottawa. Um, it's awesome. I'm having fun watching these teams play against each other as often as we do.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like original six hockey, man, and I mean it's wicked. Um, I miss the I guess some of the teams on the other end, but I also don't miss watching Toronto, Carolina. You know,
That's fair, man. Like, let's talk about the air divisions. Like, I am so surprised Boston isn't first in this division. I called them at the beginning of the season to miss the playoffs. They already have 20 points. I think I was way off on my prediction.
I think it's because it doesn't make sense how they've sustained this. Like they hit a crest, like I felt like they peaked 5 years ago, man. And yet they haven't dropped from that peak. And they just have stayed there. And they've really held a great bar. So to the management, to that team, to the players on it, I do not like Boston,
Mm-hmm.
but I would give hats off to that team because holy smokes, how do you do it year after year and play this well? Because you're right, man. I would never have called them being sitting up at the top of their division.
No way. And a team that we were talking about earlier, Pittsburgh, they're not even in a playoff spot right now. Like that is hard to believe. If they don't make the playoffs this year, ooh,
Yeah, no, that wouldn't go over too well because I mean they got knocked out in the buy-in or in the play-in last year too, right? So like they got knocked out by Montreal, which would have been deemed a great upset, right? So I I mean, watching the team now, you have to ask yourself, is it really a great upset? Or is Montreal just a beneficiary of playing in the North Division? Sorry to go back to that. Didn't mean to do that. But
no worries.
Boston, um, I do that, guys. I go around in circles sometimes because my brain just works like that. But I'll try to get back on track. Like I think that seeing how the Atlantic has teams 1 through 4, man, throughout the whole league, 5 out of the top 7 teams. That's mind blowing. Boston at top, Tampa on top of their division. It's a pretty fun season. But something that I noticed, man, is take a look at the record of all the teams in that Mass Mutual East in Boston's division.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize that there's not a team that's under 500?
Yep. Yeah, that's such a quirk, eh? But it's all because of the delay in games, right? Because of COVID.
It is, and it's also because take a look down the overtime losses in there. Everyone's
Mm.
got two, one, two. Yeah, I mean, it's that brings me to a point of I hate it when people actually think that a team is 500 when they're sitting 4-4-2.
Yeah.
You're 4-6. You're 4-6, and you got a couple of participation points. You know,
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, man. I would love to talk to you about the loser point and the possibility of like making it 3-point games, but I think we'll save that for another show. One other team I really wanted to talk about, and you were talking about the Atlantic Division. Can you believe Florida is in second place in its division?
No, man. Like that's like take a look at some of the teams that are in there. And no, I would not have put Florida ahead of Dallas and having Dallas and Nashville, and Florida. But if you really want to be honest, they were nipping at the Leafs' heels, only off by a couple points last year.
Yep, you're absolutely right,
And
and
and they unloaded their players, did they not?
they did get rid of a few of their key guys, but I don't know, maybe this year the pressure's off them because they're like, it's COVID, who knows? Like, I know they also started later than the other teams due to COVID protocols, but I don't know, man. They are the surprise for me this year so far, how well they're doing because the other division on the West Coast is pretty much shaking out the way we had all predicted with was it like Vegas and Colorado and St. Louis on top of that, and then the other teams just kind of interchanging who's in that fourth spot.
Yeah, that was the only thing that we actually were discussing was that every one of us agreed on the top three. You're 100% right, and maybe, well, not quite that order. Colorado we had up there, but
Yep,
you know, a lot of season left.
well, that's it, right? And like we're talking about the quarter season standings, and the reality is it's only the North Division that's really through a quarter of the season. The rest of the divisions are still a little bit behind, and let's hope that they can get all their games in and work this thing out.